Leona Lewis on your hometown station, KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220. Good morning and welcome to the Hometown Morning Show with Tori and Kyle. I can't believe I have a special guest in studio. Richard Szerman is here, and it's been so long. It's been so long since I've seen people. I haven't seen people. This should be fun. But first, traffic and weather. Let's take a look at your ride. SCV looks pretty good. We had some bunch ups on the South 14, Agua into Shadow Pines. And the South 405 has a crash now right past the 101. So southbound side slows up right at Sherman Way as you're making your way in through the Sepulveda Pass. All right, let's talk about the weather. Beautiful day today. We're looking at sunny skies, highs in the upper 60s, overnight lows in the 40s. Currently sunny 51 right here in Newhall.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
It is 8:39 coming up on 8:40, and as promised, Richard Szerman. Clap, 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 clap. Richard, I don't even know when the last time was it March? Was it March?
It's it's been a tick, that's for sure.
Right?
It's very nice to be here. Thank you for allowing me to come in.
you look great. Lovely mask choice.
Thank you. Yes. My very large mask for a very large head.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, man.
My daughter says, how did she put it the other day? She said I look like discount Darth Vader, which I took as a compliment. She meant as an insult. I thought that was, I'll be that. And she's, no.
Totally a compliment.
It's awesome when your 14-year-old has to first insult you and then explain the insult to you because you didn't understand it. That's a wonderful, warm feeling right there. So those of you who have kids that age, enjoy.
Rich Szerman from Alta Realty is, I don't know you're some kind of a guru.
Yeah.
Real estate guru who specializes in all kinds of loans. You have these loans memorized. If we were to ever, or any kind of problem that you run into regarding your mortgage, I could show you a letter and you would know exactly what to do. Typically,
yeah. We do. Well, we've been doing foreclosure defense of all sorts and solving people's problems for a very long time. It's sort of become kind of my thing. We joke around the office that the more strange your situation is, the more odd it seems, the more people have said, you can't do anything with this, the more likely it is to wind up on my desk. and that's fine. I don't want to bemoan that. I like the puzzles. I like the problems. But it's an interesting thing. Keeps us busy, that's for sure, especially now because, as I keep saying, whenever people keep talking about how the real estate market, it keeps going up and it's going to keep going up and up and up, I keep saying the same thing. And I know I'm always the prophet of doom and gloom, and I get all that, but unless you think a worldwide pandemic is somehow good for real estate prices, this will not last. Mm-hmm. The Fed lowered the interest rate. They did, in my opinion, way too much, way too fast. When you lower the interest rate, it leads to inflation. See also housing prices. And then the interest rate has to come up as to stave off inflation. So that's going to be bad. These chickens will come home to roost, and it will be very, very bad. I thought it would have happened by now, to be honest, but I also didn't realize the pandemic was going to go on as long as it has, because I thought we would have a much more reasonable response, and here we are.
No one did.
But on the upside, I get to wear this mask for another several months, so I got that going for me, so that's good.
What do you think? So tell me about that. So how has COVID played a part in all of just your usual, because
sure.
There are people who have all kinds of issues with banks sending them letters and threatening them, and
sure.
you put your cape on, and come to the rescue. But how has COVID kind of?
Well, it's been. I can only describe it from its comic point of view, because anything else would drive me crazy, to be honest, and I think my clients as well, because it's almost like trying to talk sense in the middle of an Abbott and Costello routine. That's what it kind of feels like. I'll give you a great example. If you are in a forbearance, and right now they tell us that about 35% to 40% of people right now in Southern California are in forbearance. Mm-hmm. Forbearance meaning you've applied to the bank, said, hey, I've been affected by this, my economy has been affected by this, I can't make my mortgage payment, and so they say, okay, we're not going to foreclose, no late fees, no anything else, here you go. Now, if you have any sort of federally backed loan, VA, FHA, USDA, which you don't get a lot of, or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, which we get a lot of in this area, the CARES Act protected you anyway. So they were doing you a favor that they were legally bound to do. So it's not much of a favor. But anyway, but the banks will say, if you're in a forbearance and you go to them, you say, hey, look, my interest rate is 4.5%, 5%, which is not unheard of, not unreasonable. But right now the interest rates are sub 3. So, if I could get a loan modification to drop my interest rate down from the 5% it's at now to 3%, which is about market, a little above, then I can afford to start making my payment and I won't need to be in a forbearance anymore, which is a very logical and responsible way to behave. I think everyone would agree. I've had several clients want to do this. But the response you will get from every bank in this country is, well, if you want to apply for a loan modification, then we have to take you out of the forbearance. Well, wait a minute. If I come out of the forbearance, doesn't that mean that I'm now in danger of foreclosure and all that goes with that? Well, yeah, but not as long as we're considering for your loan modification. Well, okay, that sounds okay, but what if I don't get the loan modification? Can I go back into the forbearance? Because if you deny me a week from now, or a month, or whatever it is, I might not be there yet. And the response is, well, no, only one per customer, which is, by the way, demonstrably untrue. But that's what they all are now trained to say. So basically, if I'm drowning and I have this life preserver, and there's a boat over there, do I swim for it?
Right.
That is the position they have put you in. Don't bring the rescue boat any closer. Keep it out there and make them swim for it and just hope they have the ability to make it, which is completely ridiculous. And more importantly, from where I sit, also contra to the bank. How is it good for the bank to put yet another person? If somebody owes me money,
right,
or somebody owes you money, and they say, you know what, I can't pay you because of this worldwide crisis, and I'm sorry about that, but we're all kind of in this together. And I think that's the part of this mentality that's missing at the banks. We're all in this together. So I tell you what I can do is I can pay you some of the money. Who in their right mind says, you know what? Don't pay me any money you owe me. I want to take you to court as soon as I can. Why would you do that? That is a completely ridiculous response. It's bad for you and it's bad for the person who owes you money.
Are they making this an all or nothing type of situation now?
Yeah, it's just foolishness on top of foolishness. Because it's because there's, and this just seems to be the what will ultimately be written about the COVID epidemic, is it's a lack of leadership. That's what it is. It is that on a federal level. It is that in the banking sector. It's there everywhere you look. There is just, lacking any cohesive leadership, what you get is individuals making decisions that they should not be empowered to make, and they are not educated enough to make. I had somebody tell me this the other day, and I've heard this before, but in the crisis it was even funnier. She said that the CARES Act doesn't apply to them. This is a federal law. I guarantee you it applies to this bank. I promise you that all of the accounts that SPS has, this is Select Portfolio Servicing, for those of you who have them, I commiserate, every one of them is subject to that CARES Act, just as is every other mortgage in this country, because it's a federal law. But the rep on the phone said, oh, that doesn't apply to us. We don't have that here, as if it was regional. Completely ridiculous. I'll give you another fun story. There is... It's better brighten everyone's day. There's a client that I started with in July of 2019. In July of 2020, I came on, and the station, you guys were nice enough to have me on, and I talked about it. There was even a little story about him. And in this case, we were trying to there was no saving it with a loan modification because it just couldn't happen. He had cancer. He survived the cancer, but it cost him his business. It's cost him his family. It's cost him everything. He's not in great shape. So the only thing he is asking is that he can be allowed to short sale his house, because if his house goes to foreclosure, he would lose public assistance that he could otherwise qualify for. Now, why that problem exists is a whole other conversation. It would seem to me if you have public assistance out there, it shouldn't much matter how you got there, but it's a whole other thing. Anyway, so we're trying to set it up. And the other benefit he could possibly get is he can get what the bank will pay relocation costs, which for somebody in his position is massive. I mean, if he can get a penny out of it, it would be great. And they will offer up to $10,000. So they say that in their own paperwork. And he seems to qualify for everything. So we've been doing this now for a year and a half. We've been through 4 different offers on the house, and SPS has been so comically bad at handling this file that when I went through to write, I wrote an entire synopsis of it recently because I think it may be going into the court system. We would need to have all the facts, ready for the attorneys. And I sent that to SPS as well, just because they should have it too. They keep finding they'll find new and exciting ways to screw it up. It's amazing. You submit something to them, they lose the paperwork. Okay, that's common. We submit it again, then they lose it again. Then we submit it again, and they lose it again. We submit it again, they finally have it, and then they say, oh, no, we don't need that one. We need the one you sent in, which is the same document 2 months ago. We found that one now. Well, it's great that you found it. Oh, now it's more than 30 days old, so it doesn't count. Huh?
It's
who's on first.
Right. I mean, when you run into these issues, because I know this is who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
When you run into these, I can't believe they're telling me this. Yeah. I mean, do you suspect at all that they might be lying?
Oh yeah.
To just.
Well, nobody wants to make a decision. So everybody wants to just kick the can down the road. It's always somebody else's fault. That seems to be the way banking has gone during the COVID epidemic. Because if you make a decision, it might be the wrong decision.
Sure.
It's basically, it's the same disease that we're seeing in politics now as well. No one wants to make a decision. A fairly high-ranking official in California told me once, which I've been using on ever since, he said something so pressing, it's probably because he just lost his election and was leaving office. He said, Rich, nobody ever loses their job in politics, and I would expand this to corporate America as well, for making a decision. They lose their job for making the wrong decision. He actually said they don't lose their job for doing something. You lose your job for doing something that's unpopular. And I mean, I understand that, but sometimes you have to do things that are unpopular. Sometimes you have to just say, you know what, it makes more sense for us to sell this house, give this guy his relocation, than wind up tying him and us up in court for no reason and doing nothing that is in our own interest. Even if they ignore what is in the client's best interest, which they shouldn't, but I understand it's a business. Why don't you just act in what is your own best interest? As it happens with most of these files, the interest of the client and the interest of the bank are the same.
Sure.
But the banks just decide that, well, we have a guideline. Well, it's a stupid guideline. I don't know who made the guideline, but it's a stupid guideline. Can I talk to that person or persons? Because it's just silly.
Right.
If there was suddenly a law that said if you get on the freeway, you have to do 150 miles an hour, I would say that is a stupid guideline. And I think most people, it'd be fun for a bit, but most people would probably agree with that as well, because people are going to die if you do that.
Right.
In this case, we're trying to get to the same place. The latest thing is we had a third offer on the property. This has been going on forever. They messed up. They didn't respond in proper timelines. They're way outside the RESPA guidelines and the law on the matter. The buyer defaulted because he got tired of waiting. On and on it goes. We get a fourth offer on the property, and they say we can't consider the fourth offer because it's taken too long. But we can go back to that third one. Well, that one hasn't taken too long, but this one has. And by the way, how dare you say this has taken too long when every single delay has been your fault? As I sit here today, I am awaiting a response from them on a short sale request that was communicated to them in writing over 60 days ago. On an offer that is in default, that they know is in default, that we cannot use because they would prefer to do that one than the one that is alive. And this is now the second time they've insisted that we continue to negotiate an offer that has been withdrawn. How does that end? I mean, I get how it keeps the file open, and I don't want to my client to go into foreclosure during COVID, so I guess I get that. I guess it does that. But the idea that we're just going to keep kicking the can down the road and not have to deal with this is ridiculous. I'll give you some fun numbers. Now in my office, we're now doing all of LA County. We've expanded to all of it, rather than just the roughly 120 zip codes we had prior. Now it's all of LA County and a good chunk of Ventura County. In the areas that we're monitoring, there should be on average about 600 notices of default, which is the first step in a foreclosure, about 600 foreclosures a month, minimum. That would be a very healthy market. In a bad market, it's going to be a lot higher than that. There are 113 of them in the last 30 days. Well, where'd the other 400 go? It's not because people are suddenly financially sound and that, the economy is in such great shape that there's no reason for those. It's because people are in forbearances and they don't know what to do. People who would otherwise be in the foreclosure process, and I'm glad they're not, but they're in forbearances. And because the banks have this ridiculous behavior where we will not allow you to work out a loan modification while you're in forbearance, which is the perfect time to do it.
Sure.
I'm in the hospital with a broken leg and I need a lung transplant, but we're not going to deal with the broken leg till after the. Why don't you do it at the same time? I'm here. Seems like now is the time to do it.
Let's do it.
But they don't want to do that for some reason that has yet to be explained to me. So all of these things are going to hit at the same time. We are going to have a tidal wave that hits. We have two watershed event dates coming up. The end of this year is the end of the foreclosure protections in the CARES Act. Now, I suspect they'll be hopefully in the next 2 weeks, they'll be extended. But if not, those all end on December 31st. The other one is California, AB 3088, which is the protection against evictions, really. It doesn't really do anything for foreclosures. But it's the protection against evictions. Sunsets at the end of January. So February 1st, all those evictions can happen. So we're in a state that has a massive homelessness problem, and it's going to be made much, much worse when all of this hits like a tidal wave at the same time. There are roughly 500,000 evictions that are coming in LA County alone. 500,000 people, and they're going to have no place to live. You're talking about a court system that can handle a high-capacity eviction court, I'm told, can handle about 200 cases a month. Well, what happens when a court like the one in Palmdale gets hit with 200,000 evictions?
Right.
They can't process those. I mean, in some cities, they're using basketball stadiums to do this. And in California, we're just twiddling our thumbs and going, gee, I hope somebody works this out. I hope somebody steps up and decides what we ought to do here because, I don't know, I guess I'll just keep keep on keeping on, I guess, because we don't know.
Well,
That's ridiculous. You
what
can't
we-
run a railroad that way.
what we do is when we get a letter, we get something that we don't like to see. We call Richard Szerman.
Please.
And Sherman is with a Z. I love your last name, Szerman. You can call him. As a matter of fact, we
Anytime.
joke about calling him 24/7 because he usually does answer his phone no matter what time. But what's the number again, Richard? That
661-714-1400, and that is my personal cell phone, 661-714-1400. And you can call me or text me at that number. I know we joke about it. We really can call me 24 hours a day. I really don't mind. I'm usually up anyway. I have trouble sleeping, so I'm usually up puttering, doing something anyway, so it's fine.
You know how it goes. Most of these letters, you'll get it on a Friday at
Yep.
like 5 p.m.
Yep.
and you go, I can't call anybody. But
Yep.
you can.
You can call
Guess
me.
who you can
You
call?
can call me. I'm available. I'll help you.
Richard Szerman. Phone
Please.
number one more time.
661-714-1400.
It has been a pleasure seeing you again
Always.
after all these months.
Always, thank you.
You're looking good even with the mask.
Even with the mask.
You're
Lower
looking
Darth
good.
Vader. Thank you.
Great having you in here, and hopefully 2021 will bring us, new and exciting. Big sigh
Yeah,
from
I
Richard
don't think so.
From Richard
We'll see.
Szerman. We'll see.
I hope so. I'm
We'll
hopeful. I hope I'm wrong.
We're
Hope
all
I'm wrong.
hopeful. We're all
hoping I'm wrong.
hopeful, and we'll see you soon, though. Right?
Please.
Okay.
Thank
Lots of people can build